The pen you've been holding all along. I want to start by introducing you to someone who's changing the game, someone whose work is quietly revolutionizing how we think about narrative, power, and possibility. Tawan Sanders, a writer, published author, talk show host, philanthropist, and motivational speaker from the west side of Chicago, who has spent their life proving that your origin story doesn't write your ending. Tawan has turned their journey into a living blueprint for anyone ready to stop letting circumstances narrate their life and start claiming authorship over their own story. Their work is empowering communities, shifting mindsets, and reminding us all that the pen has always been in our hands. We just forgot we were holding it. Today, I want to share what Tawan taught me because what they're teaching the world is this: you are not a character in someone else's story, you are the author. And it's time to rewrite the script. Let's talk about something we don't say out loud enough. Most of us didn't start with privilege, we started with survival. We learned early that the world wasn't going to hand us anything. So we became experts at grinding, hustling, carrying the weight of everyone else's expectations while our own dreams sat quietly in the corner, collecting dust and doubt. And somewhere along the way, we started believing that the hard chapters, the painful starts, the moments that tried to break us were the whole story. But here's the truth, Tawan Sanders reminded me of, and here's the truth I need you to hear today. Those moments aren't the story, they're just the raw material. And you get to decide what you build with it. Tawan's message is deceptively simple, but profoundly revolutionary. Be your own narrator from trash to traction. That means taking every moment that tried to break you and using it as fuel to propel you forward. It means refusing to let your zip code, your bank account, your past, or anyone else's limited imagination define your future. It means claiming the pen in your own life and writing a story so bold, so unapologetic that it inspires everyone who hears it. And let me tell you, this message hits different when you've spent years being the strong one, the backbone, the rock that never breaks. When you've been told that softness is weakness and rest is laziness. Tawan's journey and the stories of others who've walked this path remind us that rewriting your narrative isn't about erasing the hard parts, it's about refusing to let those parts be the only parts. Let me share three stories that embody this philosophy, stories that align perfectly with what Tawan Sanders is teaching us, stories that prove the pen is always within reach. First, let's talk about Damon John. Damon grew up in Hollis, Queens, in a low income neighborhood raised by a single mother after his father left. He worked multiple jobs, hustling just to survive, and he had a vision to create a clothing brand that represented his community, that celebrated Black culture and urban fashion in a way the world had never seen. But nobody believed in it. Investors dismissed him. The fashion industry laughed at the idea of streetwear having any real value. The narrative they tried to write for Damon was simple: stay in your lane, stay small, stay invisible. But Damon said no. He narrated his own story. He sewed 90 hats by hand in his mother's house. He used his car as collateral to get a $5,000 loan. He worked nights, pitched relentlessly, and refused to let anyone else write his ending. He believed in his vision so fiercely that he made the world believe in it too. Today, FUBU has generated over $6 billion in sales. Damon became a lead investor on Shark Tank, authored bestsellers like The Power of Broke, and revolutionized streetwear. He turned his so called disadvantages, his hood origins, into global appeal because he owned his narrative. He didn't wait for permission, he didn't wait for validation. He grabbed the pen and wrote his own story. One stitch, one pitch, one relentless belief at a time. That's what Tawan Sanders is talking about. That's trash to traction. taking the moments that were supposed to limit you and using them as the foundation for something unstoppable. And here's the thing: Damon didn't just change his own life, he changed the trajectory of an entire industry. He proved that when you own your narrative, you don't just rewrite your story, you rewrite the rules. Now let's talk about Madam C.J. Walker. Born Sarah Breedlove, she was the daughter of Louisiana sharecroppers, orphaned young, married young, widowed young, and working as a washerwoman earning $1.50 a day in segregated America. She was balding from scalp issues, living in poverty, and facing discrimination at every turn. The world had already written her story: invisible, disposable, destined to struggle. But Sarah refused to accept that narrative. She refused to be a victim of her circumstances. She experimented with hair remedies, created her own products, and then she did something radical. She narrated her transformation story door to door. She didn't wait for a marketing team or a business degree. She shared her truth, her struggle, her solution, and she trained other Black women to do the same. She empowered them economically while building her empire. She became America's first self made female millionaire, trained 40,000 Black women agents, built factories and lavish villas, and donated massively to Black causes like the NAACP. Madam C.J. Walker didn't just change her own life, she changed the trajectory of Black female entrepreneurship. She proved that your story of struggle becomes your superpower when you own it. She proved that the pen doesn't care where you started, it only cares what you're brave enough to write. And here's what gets me every time I think about her story: Madam CJ. Walker didn't wait for the world to be ready for her. She didn't wait for the perfect conditions or the right connections. She narrated her own story so powerfully, so authentically, that the world had no choice but to listen. Finally, let's talk about Robert F. Smith. Robert grew up in a Denver housing project, the son of a postal worker mother and an Army veteran father. He lived in government subsidized housing, faced biases as a Black engineer in the 1980s tech industry, and had every reason to believe the deck was stacked against him. The narrative the world tried to write for Robert was clear: you don't belong here. You won't make it. Stay where you are. But Robert coded his first program at 14. He pursued degrees from Cornell and Columbia. He interned, he networked, he learned. And then he launched Vista Equity Partners in 2000, focusing on software buyouts. Today, Vista manages over $100 billion dollars in assets, making it the largest Black owned private equity firm in the world. Robert built a $9 billion plus fortune, and in 2019, he paid off the student debt for an entire graduating class at Morehouse College. He reshaped private equity diversity, funded HBCUs, and modeled wealth building for Black communities nationwide. Robert F. Smith narrated his values so clearly, so undeniably, that the world had no choice but to invest in his vision. He didn't let his zip code write his future. He didn't let bias define his potential. He grabbed the pen and wrote a story that changed not just his life, but the lives of thousands of others. These three stories: Damon John, Madam C.J. Walker, Robert F. Smith, they all echo what Tawan Sanders is teaching us. They all started in the trash moments: poverty, discrimination, doubt, dismissal. But they all created traction by refusing to let those moments define them. They rewrote their scripts daily. They turned setbacks into setups. They amplified their voices unapologetically. And that's what we need to do. Because here's the truth, and I need you to really hear this: the world is not going to hand you your narrative. The world is going to try to write it for you. It's going to tell you that you're too much or not enough. It's going to tell you that your past disqualifies you from your future. It's going to tell you to stay small, stay quiet, stay in your lane. But you have the power to say no. You have the power to grab that pen and write a different ending. Tawan Sanders reminded me of three things that I want you to hold on to. Three truths that can change everything if you let them. First, rewrite your script daily. No matter where you started, whether it's the west side of Chicago or a housing project in Denver or a washerwoman shack in Louisiana, you get to claim the pen in your life story. You get to shift from surviving to thriving. Every single day, you get to choose who you're becoming. This isn't a one time decision, this is a daily practice. Wake up and ask yourself, what story am I writing today? Second, turn setbacks into setups. Every trash moment is raw material for traction. The rejection, the failure, the heartbreak, the loss, those aren't the end of your story. They're the beginning of your comeback. Own it, flip it, build momentum from it. The most powerful stories aren't the ones where everything went perfectly. They're the ones where someone refused to let the hard parts have the final word. Third, amplify your voice unapologetically. Tawan Sanders is a writer, author, host, philanthropist, and speaker because they refuse to stay silent. They refuse to let their story go untold. And when you share your narrative, when you speak your truth, you create ripples for your community. You give someone else permission to do the same. Your voice matters, your story matters, and the world is waiting for you to stop whispering and start speaking. So here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow, not next week, right now. I want you to think about one trash chapter from your past, the one you've been hiding, the one you've been ashamed of, the one you thought disqualified you. And I want you to ask yourself, what if that chapter wasn't the end? What if it was the setup? What if the very thing you've been running from is the foundation for the traction you've been searching for? This week, grab a journal, write down that chapter, be honest, be raw, and then rewrite it as your traction launch pad. What did that moment teach you? How did it shape you? How can you use it to propel you forward? Share it on social media with the hashtag own your narrative. Let the world see that you're no longer letting your past write your future. Let the world see that you've grabbed the pen. Because here's what I want you to feel right now. I want you to feel ready. I want you to feel powerful. I want you to feel like you've just unlocked something inside of you that's been waiting to break free. I want you to feel like you've just realized that the pen has been in your hand all along. You just forgot you were holding it. I want you to feel ready to narrate your own story, to step into your power not by erasing the hard parts, but by honoring them as the foundation of your strength. You are not defined by where you started, you are defined by what you do with it. You are not defined by the trash moments, you are defined by the traction you create. And you are the author of your own story. So pick up that pen, rewrite that script, and show the world what happens when you refuse to let anyone else narrate your life from trash to traction. That's not just a message, that's a movement. And it starts with you right now, today. The pen is in your hand. What are you going to write?